It's now time to start the swing. We have our stance, we have our trigger position. Now we want to work on our swing. We start from the bottom up, our feet and up through our hips before we get to our hands and shoulders. One of the things we do to get good hip rotation is we place a ball behind the back, the rear foot, the heel area, because we're trying to get a pivot in this position. We're trying to take the hip to the ball. If the ball is coming from that direction, then I want to take my hip to the ball and rotate and pivot on this back foot. So a good way to practice that is to place a wiffle ball behind the heel of that rear foot. And if I pivot correctly, if I throw this hip correctly to the pitch, which is going to be out here, then that ball will move away from me. If, on the other hand, I fail to have a good pivot, place the ball back here, or I fail to pivot, and you'll see athletes do this, they'll do this. There's no pivot. Now I've locked my hips, and we spend a lot of time on just this drill to get our hips thrown to the pitch. So this is another one of those drills you can do in mass. Just line them up with balls and work on just this much so they get the hip into the pitch. So we start from our hitting position, we're back in here, and we get started here. Pivot, 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 until we're pointing our hands, our bat to the ball. If we have an outside pitch, then we go here. We have them pitch up the middle, we go here. If it's an inside pitch, we turn even more. We'll spend a little bit more time on the various pitches in a little bit, but right now we simply want to get our swing started. We want to keep our weight centered. We want to be able to keep our strength once again in terms of good balance. So our weight's going to stay centered. We're back, we're starting forward, we're starting to shift our weight forward, forward, forward. This is pivoting. Our hands are back, then eventually our hands are going to come through the ball. Back, you're ready? From this position, we're going to start switching our weight forward as we pivot on that back foot. Hands stay back, and then we take eventually our hands and bat to the ball. As we do this, notice we keep the same power, phase, strong position with our lead arm and with our rear arm. So as we're bringing our shoulders back with our legs, we're going to do the same thing, bringing them forward. Shoulders, 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 till we're in this position, strong position. If you have a player that when she swings, she's way out here, all you have to do, she's taking her swing, she's gotten herself way out here and swinging through here. She may be pivoting, but she's not balanced. She's lowered her center of gravity, is to tell her to simply switch the bat in her hand, rotate her feet, and ask her, now is this your hitting position? And obviously it's not. This is not a finishing, strong, balanced position. So this is again why you need that short stroke. So as we do this, we're going to throw our hands to the ball as our hips go. We're going here, our hands start going, 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 and then we'll explode.